Hi everybody, my name is Hannah and this is Pepper and Pine and I have a peg doll tutorial to share with you today. I am getting inspiration from this book by Margaret Bloom called Making Peg Dolls. It is gorgeous and it is filled with all kinds of inspiration, so many different kinds of peg dolls, and what's really great about this book is that it comes with directions as well as some patterns. So I was actually en route to make something completely different when I fell upon this Valentine's Day inspired peg doll set, and I thought, hey, that looks simple and fast and easy. Let's go ahead and try this. Now, though we don't celebrate Valentine's Day, I thought that this project would be really fantastic if you did celebrate this holiday and you chose to make little favors for students at your children's classroom or for a homeschool co-op or just as a fun project to celebrate this holiday. We are using the small peg dolls as well as the Lyra paints and this book by Margaret Bloom. All of these materials are available at achildsdream.com and links to all of these products are in the description box below. So I am just going to paint everything because that is super fast when you're doing these little peg dolls versus using felt for the outfit or yarn for the hair. If you want to make your watercolors a little bit more opaque, there is a white tube of paint that you can add to them and then you won't see the wood grain showing through on the peg doll. However, I really like that look. When you're working on the face, the eyes, and the little mouth, you want to go slow and easy, and you want to make sure that your paint is rather dry and not too wet, otherwise it will run in the wood grain. And if you're a little bit unsure about painting the faces, you can either leave them off completely or you can use a pencil. That way if you make a mistake, you can always erase it. So we're going to start on the second one here, and I am doing black hair. And once I get the majority of the hair done, I want to add a few fringes towards the front. So again, you want to make sure that your paintbrush is a little bit dry to do this part because that way it won't bleed through the wood grain and it gives it a nice realistic look. Then I'm going to paint the eyes on, and for this mouth I'm going to copy the mouth that is in the book, and instead of making it a smiley face, it's just kind of a little bit of a dot, which looks really cute and charming. One other thing that would have looked really nice as well is to do a little bit of pink on either side for the cheek. So now I'm going to paint the rest of this in red, and because my paintbrush had a little bit of the black left over from the hair, it actually gives a really nice look to the red, and I like it a lot, and eventually I add a little bit more black into that red. It gives it a nice rich look to it. And I've done several coats here, so you can't see too much of the wood grain through, and it will take longer to dry, so do be careful. I get a little bit impatient and I want to work on the entire doll, but it's probably a good idea to paint all of the bases first and let them dry and then move on to the hair. For this one I wanted pink, and I didn't see a pink that I wanted in the set, so I added a little bit of white to the red to get this color. And then for the hair, I wanted her to have blonde hair, so I'm mixing white with a little bit of yellow and a tiny bit of tan, and you can't tell. You can tell a little bit more on camera, but in real life you couldn't tell at all that her head was painted. So eventually I add some little low lights in some brown in order to make it look like she's got hair. I have too much water on my paintbrush, and so one of her eyes starts to run, unfortunately. Alright, so this is what they look like when they're done, and now it's time to embellish them. So I'm going to take you into my drawer here where I have a lot of scrapbook supplies, and I think that they will work really well for this peg doll. I thought about using some of these metal hearts and some felt for the outfit, but then I kind of thought maybe these wood pieces would look nice. Now, when you're using wood pieces, even with glue, they are very likely to fall off, so this is not intended for really young children. These will definitely pop off, and if you were concerned about that, then I would suggest using felt hearts, and that is what was suggested in the book. I decided to use these instead because I didn't want to cut out tiny little hearts out of felt, and I thought these looked really cute and charming. So we're just about done, but I think I want to make them a little pouch, and I'm dipping into these spring colors. And this felt is 100% wool felt. It's also from A Child's Dream. So I'm going to freehand a heart. I think using a template is probably a better idea. It turned out okay in the end, and a heart is a pretty easy shape to do. And I cut one out, and I think I want to make a little pocket for the little peg doll. So I took that little scrap, and I'm going to try to kind of fasten a little pocket there and sew on a little pocket so that one of the little peg dolls can be inside of it. And I get that in place and then I try it out and it completely doesn't fit. So I use that little piece and I make all of the little peg dolls these little charming hats. And I kind of like adding a little bit to the head. It just kind of finishes it off, but of course that's totally optional. So now I'm going to just stitch this heart and I think I'll make a different kind of pocket. So I cut out 2 hearts and I am going to use a blanket stitch to stitch these 2 hearts together, but I am going to only stitch the lower half and the top half is going to be open so that those little peg dolls have a little home. This one is a fairly easy stitch. You just come in from the back and before you pull it all the way through, you grab that yarn or the thread and then it gives a nice little look around the outside. It's a really nice little detail. So after I get about halfway done, now I'm just going to do the blanket stitch around one piece, the front piece of this heart. That way it looks like it's a blanket stitch all the way around, which it is, but it hides a little pocket in the back. So I went ahead and tied that off, and then I'm kind of debating whether I want to put a little heart on the front. I do in the end decide to put a little heart there. And now I'm going to put these little peg dolls inside, and they don't fit. I probably should have measured before I cut, and there's just no way for them to fit inside. One will fit kind of nicely, but not more than one. So that's okay. I am just going to have this whole thing together as a cute little set. We can put other little things inside that little pocket heart, maybe a couple of candies, and that's it. So this was a really fast, easy project. You can see how charming and cute they are. They are very small, so do be mindful if you have young children playing with them. And if you want to skip the heart, and if you don't want to cut out felt, you can always just paint a little white heart on the front, and I think that would be really cute and charming. And if you're doing this for children in a classroom, I think additionally you could add their name across the front, and those kids would really cherish this little peg doll. If you want to see some of the other projects we're doing in our homeschool, I have left a couple of playlists here on the screen for you. And don't forget that you can find me on a daily basis by visiting me on Instagram at Pepper and Pine.